update for you. Authorities captured two men accused of killing members of the same family in the tiny town of Goshen, California. The January attack left 6 people dead, including a grandmother in her 70s and a 16-year-old mother and her baby. In newly released surveillance video, you can see that young mom drop her infant over the fence, then climbs the gate herself, trying to get away. She and the child were shot execution style just up the road. As part of what's being called Operation Nightmare, authorities took Angel Uriarte and Noah Beard into custody. Uriarte got into a gunfight with ATF agents and had been hospitalized. He's actually expected to survive. The sheriff says that when investigators served warrants on the 2 suspects, they also served warrants at several state prisons, searching specific cells and inmates with gang affiliations and connections. At least 2 people at the home survived the attack, and 1 called 911.
They're coming back. They're coming back. Oh, they're coming back in.
Who's coming back in?
The guys. Please hurry, come on.
The Tulare County Sheriff gave an update on the people involved, saying this is all part of a long-standing gang war in the Central Valley of California.
In the beginning, I had mentioned it was a cartel-like shooting. And as all of you can imagine, this is exactly what it appears to be. Rivalry gangs between the Norteños and the Sureños, which we have all heard of many, many times. The 2 members of the Perez family, the victim's family, were well-known, validated Sureño gang members in the town of Goshen, which is predominantly held by the Norteño gang. The 2 suspects arrested today are validated Norteños. The suspects and the victims have a long history of gang violence, heavily active in guns, gang violence, gun violence, and narcotics dealings. However, having said that, the motive is not exactly clear at this point.
Brian, police say there's no motive for the killings, at least yet, but do the gang affiliations of the suspects and 2 of the victims, they have to give us some sort of clue, right?
Absolutely, Jesse. When it comes to gang affiliation and killings like this, you've got to think it's most likely one of 2 things. Either it's about territory or it's about revenge. It's either an expansion of a territory, one gang saying, hey, we're moving in on your turf, so to speak, and this is a signal both to these individuals and their families and other gang members associated with the victims, or it's about revenge. You don't go killing people execution style along with their family members unless something happened in the past. I, again, would say this is either about turf or it's about revenge, but I think once we dig down a little deeper and we get into the nitty-gritty, so to speak, all the relationship between these 2 gangs and recent shootings, killings, and movements, we'll definitely get a motive.
And if we dig down a little deeper, I thought it was fascinating, Terry, that the law enforcement searched inmate cells for evidence. It makes me wonder if we're going to expect additional people to be charged as a result of this.
Oh, I think absolutely they're going to charge additional people. This is what led them to making these arrests, the fact that they found this information in the cells. And I do think that anybody who had some sort of connection to these murders could be charged for solicitation of murder or murder for hire. We're in California, and if that's the case, they can be charged with those crimes. And if someone was injured in the crime, they could get up to 20 years. If no one was injured, they did 10 years. But here we have, you know, people who were killed. So in fact, they could get life or death. Obviously, death is not an option right now in California because there's a moratorium and they're not pursuing it anymore. But yes, I definitely think they could charge some of the individuals who were behind bars along with those who were outside doing the crime.
And that video is just so absolutely chilling, watching that and hearing the 911 phone call. Well, a Florida man who now admits to torturing and killing 2 gay men 20 years ago is insistent he wants the death penalty. Stephen Lorenzo is representing himself during his sentencing this week and explained to a judge on Monday why he wants the death penalty.
Yes, give me the death penalty. That is absolutely great. That's exactly what I want. I'm 64 years old. I could be on death row for 10, 15 years. The comforts that they get in the death row are a lot more comfortable than it is in the federal system. You get your own private cell, you get your own TV, you get your own computer, you get all this stuff. But your privacy, your daily quality of life privacy, at my age, is invaluable. I want to do my time my way. It's easy time. So I'm going anyway. As far as I'm concerned, everybody here is on death row. Everybody's got to go sometime.
Well, Lorenzo was convicted in Tampa in 2005 and given a 200-year federal prison sentence. Lorenzo sent a long handwritten letter from jail to the 13th Judicial Circuit Court before Thanksgiving saying he wants to plead guilty, have a judge sentence him to death, and waive his right to appeal. The judge is expected to make a decision sometime this week. Welcome back, everybody. A Texas bartender is under arrest, accused of over-serving a man who decided to drive drunk and killed a police officer. Dylan Molina told police that he'd been drinking in November 2021 when he ran a red light and slammed into a car driven by Detective Alex Cervantes. During their investigation, police determined Molina had been at a Fuzzy's taco stop in Lake Worth, and they believe that Calla Richardson overserved an already intoxicated Molina. Police also discovered that Richardson's license to serve liquor was expired. Molina pleaded guilty last month and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. As for Richardson, well, she faces up to a year in prison and a $4,000 fine for allegedly overserving Molina. Brian, is this a thing? Charging a bartender for what a patron does? It seems like there has to be a defense there.
Yeah, so this is a thing, Jesse. Let's take us all the way back to law school. It's actually called dram shop laws. Dram shop being another word for bars or establishments where alcohol is served. And they've been around since the 19th century. The Mothers Against Drunk Driving has actually made this a very big law in the United States, Canada, New Zealand, even Australia. And what the idea is, if you are serving someone who is visibly intoxicated, you are liable for their actions afterwards. A potential defense could be that they were doing everything they should have been doing, checking their patrons as they were coming in, and that they did not observe this person to be visibly intoxicated and therefore had no reason to believe that they could not serve them more alcohol. Of course, that is a difficult argument to make. There's a lot of factual implications that go back and forth as to what they did or did not observe, but it's a thing. Make sure you're watching who you're serving alcohol when you're working at these establishments.
Terry, you agree with this? You agree with holding people responsible for serving too much alcohol? Because if so, where do you draw the line?
You know, I do agree with this, and there are places to draw the line. I mean, Brian is right. There are these dram shop laws, and Texas has its own. It says you have to be obviously intoxicated at the time of the transaction. So I think, again, Brian's right. You can have a defense that the person wasn't obviously intoxicated. But I also think that some states take it even further than that. You don't even have to be in a bar. You can be at home and serving alcohol, and if someone goes out and they injure or kill someone, then you can be held responsible for that. But Texas is not one of those states. If you're serving alcohol in Texas and someone goes out and injures someone else, you're not going to be held responsible for that. But there are many states that do hold these homeowners responsible, and it's really something that they're doing to try to stop all of these deaths that we're talking about on the road when people get behind the wheel and they've been drinking.
Hopefully it has the desired effect of stopping this from happening, and it's kind of a wake-up call for people out there. Brian, Terry, thank you both so much. Excellent work as always. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We will see you next time as we discuss justice in America. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.